Welcome, I'm Dr. Ihsan Garashidaki. This is the third video we have created about affairs. So if you haven't watched the other two, make sure you do watch those first. The first one is about what affairs are, how come they develop in a relationship, and really what they create in terms of those reactions and feelings and so forth. And then the second one was about what not to do what not to really engage in or think about and do as well in the beginning stage of finding out about affairs, because we made sure that we're talking about the fact that you don't want to exacerbate the problem. You don't want to make things worse. Now, so this video is about what to do, and with the goal of really coming out of that uncertainty and also removing that problem from your relationship. So the thing that you do want to engage in is really come from this diagnostic model that we use in medicine, in psychology, generally in science. When there's a problem that we are looking at, we got to see, are we looking at the root cause of the issue or no? Is this just a symptom and that something else is going on? So like I mentioned, if you haven't watched other videos, please do watch those. We mentioned in those two that the really affairs are just symptoms of a much more deeper problematic issue that has led to that basically distance between two individuals. So people end up living together and they're still in a relationship, but they're emotionally and intimately actually quite distant from one another. So that's the actual root cause. Now, if you want to know what to do when you find out or even suspect that an affair is going on, you want to immediately think about that root cause. What is going on between us that is driving us apart? That is the actual question, the first question you want to ask yourself. And this would be only half of the formula. This is 50%, because you only have your own answers. You don't have the answer to this question from your partner. Now, so here is the tricky part, because you ought to take this question and ask it not only of yourself but also of your partner, and it really depends where your partner is at in terms of that distance. Are they in a position and situation where they are actually willing to take a look at that and be honest enough with themselves and with you to even acknowledge that a distance exists, and even beyond honesty and willingness to look at these things, are they even willing to really take those necessary steps to do something about this, to remove the distance? Because at times people may have grown accustomed to that distance. That distance may actually provide a sense of kind of safety and comfort to them due to their own perception and fears that they have developed over the duration of your relationship together. So that's the tricky part, because you got to be able to assess, are they willing, are they able, are they courageous enough, are they is there enough interest and motivation in them to want to even address this issue. If they are not, your job is harder. We will talk about that later. But if they are, and I share kind of a secret with you, most of the time what I have seen in relationships is that majority of cases people are actually very much interested and motivated to address this issue. They may be a little bit hesitant in the beginning, but that hesitation can be removed by your willingness to create a safe and comfortable environment to talk and communicate about this issue. So this question is something that needs to be addressed in a very non-threatening fashion. So if you think about it, first of all, you make an inventory and a list of the answers that you come up with. What are the things that you believe that may have led to some distance? Because if there is a distance, you feel it, you know about it. There's no question about it. So that's one part of it. And once you have done that, then you want to take that to the next step of creating that safe and comfortable environment, and like a moment in time when you notice maybe there is an anniversary, a birthday, a holiday, or a peaceful event, maybe a getaway vacation, something coming up, like a weekend, a quiet weekend, peaceful weekend, even a boring one is a good one, that you would think, well, now is the time to actually turn that moment into that safe and comfortable conversation about literally that distance. So the idea here is not to again find more information whether or not affair is taking place, or ascertain whether or not your partner is interested even in somebody else. It's the opposite of that. The question for both of you, which again, after having made your own inventory, you can bring up in that comfortable, safe time and environment, sitting down with your partner and bringing up this question is, do you feel a little bit of a distance between us? Do you, this is something that you sense, and you're just wondering whether they feel the same. And that's it. And you don't want to overshoot. You don't want to go beyond that. You don't want to immediately send a message of, let's say, hope, or kind of a fantasy or expectation that you want to repair the situation, you want to fix the situation, you want to get over this, or you're sure that there is something going on or a distance going on that your partner is responding to. So you got to be very, very sensitive about this part, where you have to really take your time and just propose this idea that whether or not your partner believes and feels any distance, and do they believe that the relationship is okay and comfortable? Do they feel close enough to you? That's it. And you want to kind of open up the conversation, not push for more, and leave it at that. And literally, this is almost like an invitation, like a letter of invitation to kind of overcome that gap and that distance, to close that distance. And if it is delivered in a safe and comfortable method, the person, your partner, gets the message in terms of, you know what, there is enough interest on my partner's end that she or he has noticed something is happening, and at least there is that acknowledgement, and there is a warm fuzzy feeling about it right there for even the person who engages in an affair, to kind of reignite that flame, that original flame of, again, that the message you're sending is you are interested, you want to understand. Just very much like what has been happening in the beginning, dating phase of a relationship, or the stage of relationship where two people come together and really just kind of dating. What do? They're kind of tentative, they're comfortable, they're safe, they make things work because they're willing to react to one another in a very, almost like this holding and supporting fashion, non-threatening. And the way they do it is they show interest, they ask questions, they're genuinely inquiring about the world, the inner world of their partner. So you wanted to kind of reignite that again when you're digging deep to know, find out where the root causes of your distance with your partners are. So, or with your partner are. So once you do that, don't expect too much from that conversation, because that may literally be only an invitation. So they may not immediately respond to it, but they remember that the invitation is on the plate and that you have something on your mind. So naturally they will gravitate toward doing something about this, and then you can take it up another time and next step. We will talk about that, and you can always consult with a professional in terms of who works with affairs and affair recovery, in terms of what those next steps would be. But this is very much the first step, that you would want to open this envelope, to open this invitation, to open the opportunity of conversing with one another. In some cases, you may actually get an answer, or a long list of answers. You may, now again, don't be surprised if some of those answers come across with intense emotions as well. So it's not like just because you have done your inventory and watched this video and done some work on yourself and to know the do's and the don'ts, doesn't mean that they do, right? They most likely haven't seen this video or watched it or read books or articles or consulted anyone. They may have, but most of the time they haven't. So they may be caught off guard. So it's not like they can easily welcome this invitation from you and say, oh, I'm so glad and happy that you brought this up. You're such a lovely person, and let me tell you about all those things that we could do right again, and I've been thinking about all these things, and kind of be very loving and attending and supporting in their approach to you. No, they may come across like a little bit kind of off-putting, a little bit defensive, a little bit even offensive, resentful, anxious, sad. All those feelings may come across. So they may say something, well, I'm glad you're asking, it's been a long time, something like that. Sarcastic at times. They may actually deny the first time, say, well, no, why are you asking? There's nothing wrong with us, or something like that. So don't be surprised about getting these raw emotions naturally coming out. The idea is not to focus so much on the content yet. We will do that later, but the first thing to focus on is the process of inviting the person, opening up this conversation, creating that sense of safety, just putting it out there tentatively and sending the message that you're open to hear. That's about it, no matter what the response is. And then later on, at another time, at another occasion, etc., you can kind of revisit this same issue and say, whatever time it is, the second time, third time, fourth time, whatnot, and say something along the lines of, I know you told me there's nothing wrong and everything is okay, etc. However, I sense that actually you're not really that happy. Or at least I'm not very happy with what is happening because of that feeling of distance that I believe exists. So if you don't mind, I would really like to talk about this issue and kind of bring it up and have a heart-to-heart conversation with you. I think we both deserve it. If you put it in that fashion, then again, it becomes assertion of your seriousness about the issue and safety, and then you can get some kind of a window into. They may say something. Are you talking about now? Are you talking about early in a relationship? What are you talking about? So they may engage in their own curiosity and investigative mind and kind of trying to find out what your angle is. So those are good. Then you can gradually take that to the next level of literally, again, the caveat here is peacefully, kind of focusing on literally just allowing both of you to address something that may be the case, may be unpleasant, and you sense it, you're opening that invitation, that conversation, and reassuring the partner that all you're looking for is you want to know if they're happy or not, if there's anything that can be done to make them happy. So it's that assertion of your support and love and appreciation for them. And then after that, certainly you want to take it into a more serious conversation. Hopefully it will happen. Now, I would suggest that you seek the help of a counselor at that time. If you see that this initial probing strategies have worked and your partner is opening up and there is something that they actually would like to talk about. Given your history, you know best. You may have had very pleasant communication, conversation with each other all your life and never had any type of a aggressive, violent outburst out of these things, out of this conversation. So you may want to just take it to the next level as well, again, with or without the help of a counselor. But if not, if you have had a history of some kind of intense reactions to a point where maybe you guys separated for a while, maybe you guys became aggressive with each other, both, verbally, emotionally, physically, sexually, kind of abusive toward one another, manipulative, and you name it, all those type of very extreme type of behavior that are detrimental, then I would for sure seek the help of a counselor, either independently, like kind of being coached by a person while you're engaging in this conversation, or kind of bringing that notion up in your conversation with your partner and telling them that, if we are open, both of us, to really talk about what are some of the things that are bothering us, why don't we go to a counselor, a therapist, and who can help us, who can become the more of a neutral party to help both of us, so we don't hurt each other even more than necessary, and see where that goes. So this video was about what to do. I want to summarize the fact that what you want to do is look at the root cause of the fact that there is distance in the relationship, and that you have co-created it somehow during your relationship. Both of you feel probably some aspect of not being valued, appreciated, heard, supported, and so forth. So you want to discover what that is, how it came to be, both from your own perspective as well as that from your partner. And that's really kind of almost like reweaving, going back to the root kind of depth of that gap, and then reweaving the sides of these two people with two realities, two perspectives, and kind of bringing these sides closer together by having a much more better dialogue about your needs, expectations, and missed opportunities. Next video we will talk about more in-depth questions that you can ask your partner, and also help you with some emotions that may come up during these questions, or even on your own when these certain intense emotions come up, and how you can deal with those. Thank you for watching. Leave us a comment, subscribe. See you soon.